DC Comics is launching a new line of trade paperbacks. They're called DC Finest, and as you guys can see, we have 5 of them here. DC Comics was nice enough to send them my way. Let's check them out and see what we got. The first one we're talking about is the GOAT himself. We have Superman, the first superhero. Really love this classic cover on this. The colors really pop. Next one up is DC Finest Batman Year 1 and Batman Year 2. This is actually the first trade paperback I ever had, Batman Year 1, and I actually haven't read Batman Year 2 yet, so really great to have this. Can't wait to check it out. The last member of the Trinity, we have Wonder Woman herself, Wonder Woman Origins and Omens. After Absolute Wonder Woman and the current ongoing, I've been wanting to read a ton more Wonder Woman, so this is great to have as well. Maybe my favorite superhero of all time, we have The Flash. This is a lot of his first appearances, at least Barry Allen's. We have The Flash, the Human Thunderbolt, and it looks like this is all Barry Allen content, not Wally West or Jay Garrick. And then finally, we have a team book. This is Justice League of America, The Bridge Between Earths. I'm really excited about this one, some classic JLA content. Before we do a more in-depth look on each single one, just some quick thoughts, man. I really like the covers on all of these. I really like the return of the DC Bullet logo. It just gives more credence to kind of that classic look that they're going for. I like that all the covers kind of look, the entire line kind of looks the same. And this is kind of nerdy to point out, but you know how us collectors are. You got to have that shelf presence. That spine is really important. So as we're looking at the spine here, we have the DC Bullet logo. I love the character portraits down below. I really do like the, the year too. That's like a small little touch, but the year I think adds a lot to the spine. Gives it more like historical kind of feel. That it looks like they're going for. The trim size is actually the same as a trade paperback, so if you're familiar with that size, it's going to fit on your shelf really well, which means it's also the same size as a single issue. So as you guys can see, we got the same dimensions as a single issue, and then we have the same dimensions as a trade paperback. This is my old Kingdom Come trade paperback, so as you guys can see, the same kind of size we're dealing with there. That also means that it's slightly smaller than a deluxe edition or an omnibus. These are formats that are a little bit oversized. So as you guys can see, the trim size is slightly smaller than an omnibus or deluxe edition. The last thing I want to note real quickly is I just love the appreciation that DC seems to have for their history, their backlog, and all the different classic characters, right? Because I think that's one of DC's biggest strengths, right? They have the best roster of characters, they have the most classic stories, so it's really cool to see DC kind of celebrating that with this first wave of DC's Finest. I think they just knocked it out of the park. These are great. Let's take an in-depth look at the first wave of DC Finest. Again, shout out to DC for sending these my way. The first one up that I want to talk about is Superman, the first superhero. And this collects Action Comics numbers 1 through 25 and Superman's 1 through 25. And it also has New York World's Fair Comics number 1. This is the OG himself and features some of his earliest adventures from the legends Siegel and Schuster. As a lover of comic book history, but as someone who hasn't read this Golden Age material, this is such a great addition to the collection. Batman Year 1 and 2 is also out now. This features the post-crisis reinvention of the Batman from the legends Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Year 1 is a story that holds a special place in my heart, and Year 2 is something that I actually have not read yet. So I'm super excited to check that out on my next read-through probably. We have some pretty modern Wonder Woman here. This is the most modern out of the bunch of this first DC Finest wave. This is Origins and Omens, and it launches on November 12th. This features a lot of stuff from Gail Simone's run, which is Wonder Woman number 14 through 35. The back says this delves into the history and the mythology of the Amazon, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I've been eating up all the Wonder Woman content I can get lately, so this is a great addition to the collection as well. The Justice League of America one comes out on November 19th, and on the back it says that they're going to be taking on supernatural foes, villainous time travels, and multiversal calamities. This one just sounds like a ton of fun, man, and it's from the legendary duo of Gardner Fox and Mike Sekowitz. So yeah, just legendary stuff here and content that I haven't read yet, so great addition to the collection. Been saying that a lot. Finally, we have The Flash, the Human Thunderbolt. This has Barry Allen Flash stories from Showcase number 4, 8, 13 to 14, and The Flash issues number 105 to 123. So we have Barry's origin, and of course, The Flash has one of the best rogues gallery in comic books. So we have classic rogue stories like, featuring Mirror Master, Captain Cold. This also has the story, The Flash of Two Worlds, which is the story that changed the DC universe. So that was a more in-depth look at each single one of the DC Finest, their entire first wave that they released so far. Let's do some conclusions and final thoughts. So man, overall, I just gotta say, I'm super impressed with this the first wave of DC Finest. They present super well. I'm telling you guys, the covers are super beautiful. They really pop. Hopefully the camera is catching that. The entire line looks so congruent so far. I really like kind of the historical aspect that they're taking with these. The size of them is perfect. I can totally see people just throwing these into their backpack. The $40 price tag makes a ton of sense. Once you guys pick it up and flip through it when you get your hands on it, they include a ton of issues, man. We're talking between 20 and 25. So I think you get a real bang for your buck. The content that they chose for this first line, I think they really nailed it. You got to have the Trinity, of course. So you have Batman and his modern origin right after post-crisis. We have a more modern origin for Wonder Woman. This is more of the Gail Simone stuff. I haven't read this stuff. Looking forward to it. You got to have some Golden Age. You got to have some Superman first off, but it's really great that the Golden Age is getting some representation. We have some of the earliest Superman stories in this. You got to throw in a team book, so it's really cool to see a team book thrown in. We have Justice League of America, some really great classic fun stories here. And then I'm just really grateful they threw in a Flash, man. They could have had any other character. Barry on Flash, really cool to have. All these classic, Rogues Gallery stories, one of the best Rogues Gallery in comics from the Flash. And then including stories like his origin too, so awesome stuff there. In terms of who this format is for, I can really see this as someone who just really loves DC and really loves comic book history in general. They might want to go for the full line, but I can also see this perfect for someone who might have just started reading comic books. They see it at the bookstore and they want to read their first ever Flash comic book. So I think that this is really, really perfect for both new readers and also longtime collectors like me. This thing is going right on the shelf. This line absolutely has a place on my shelf. Very much looking forward to it. Wave number 2 has already been announced, so we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up there. I'm really looking forward to the Catwoman one. That one's caught my eye. This is an absolutely awesome format. Definitely keep your eyes out for it if you're at your local comic book store or your local bookstore. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Shout out to DC for sending it my way, and read more comics.